Hey whimsically musical teachers! It's springtime, which means all of the fun spring music activities featuring bunnies and frogs and chicks and rain and all of that sort of fun stuff. So if you're interested in learning some of my favorite spring music lessons that I use in my elementary music classroom, then please stay tuned. I have a lot of great ideas for you. If you're new around here, my name's Franny Barton. I teach elementary music and middle school musical theater. I created this channel to help other music educators instill a love and appreciation of music into the heart of every child. So if you're interested in that, I have new videos every single Monday, and I love to share tips and tricks and strategies and lesson plans and activities and all of the fun stuff. And I like to create a lot of the resources for you so that you can do less and just start teaching more in your classroom. So please like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help my channel grow. In today's video, I have about 8 to 9 different spring activities that I use amongst the different grade levels, and I will say what grade level I use it for, what concept I teach it for, and some of them are folk dances, some of them are folk songs, some of them are games, some of them have instruments. There's a good mix and variety all around so that you can have some fun, great ideas that you can use for springtime in your music room. And so let's start with one of my absolute favorites that I use in 2nd grade to review and introduce law, and it is We Are Dancing in the Forest. Hopefully you've heard of it by now. If you haven't, it goes like this. We are dancing in the forest while the wolf is far away. Who knows what will happen to us if he finds us at our play? Wolf, are you there? And then the wolf are you there part you can use or not use depending on the game and the version that you're doing. I use it. But basically it says, wolf, are you there? And then whoever's the wolf gets to make up some excuse like, no, I'm reading a book. No, I'm doing a dance. Like they do it like 2 different times, brushing my teeth, whatever it is. And then the 3rd time they say yes. And then that's where the game begins. So let me explain how the game works. There are a couple of different game variations that I have learned over the years. And my favorite is the one I'm about to teach you because it requires the least amount of chaos in your classroom. It still has chaos, but it's the least. So just take that with a grain of salt. Okay, so basically, if you've ever heard of Sharks and Minnows is the game that everybody plays in the pool where like you have a shark and they're only allowed to swim side to side and the students try to swim past them and like they are not allowed to leave their line, but they're allowed to like tag people as they're coming right up to them or like side to side next to them, right? Okay, so it's the same deal. I have colored dots in my room, so this works out really well. I have one of my wolves stand on the last line of colored dots, and they are only allowed to move back and forth throughout this entire song. And then when they say yes, the students on the other end all are trying to run past the wolf to get to the other side of the classroom. And if the wolf tags them, but not by leaving their line, but tags them, then they have become a wolf as well, and they join the wolf on that line, and then I change who gets to say like, oh no, I'm doing this, or yes, or whatever it is. And then we have more wolves and they spread out, and eventually it gets to like where it's nearly impossible to cross to the other side of the room because you have like 8 wolves at this point. This is a super easy one. And this one is easy for your students to understand. And I liked it a lot better than like the other ones where you had 2 trees in the room and the kids had to run to the trees and the kids were running all around your classroom. And it was very chaotic energy and it was just too much for me. So this one is much simpler. Sharks and Minnow style. The kids like it. The kids understand it a lot more. And it's a super fun one to do for reviewing law. And then, I don't know, because it's a forest, like that's springy, right? We gonna go with it. Then we have Rabbit and Possum, and I use this one in 4th and 5th grade. It's really great for reviewing or introducing fa, which I know I need to get better at doing. It has a million 16th notes in it, so you could use it for 16th notes as well, like tigga, whatever you need to use it for. The game that I learned was a Marco Polo style version in the classroom, but I did not like that, and then I went to this conference, music teacher conference, and the guy that introduced the song taught a different game, and I liked that game a lot better. So I'll teach the song first, which I need the words right in front of me because it's a lot of words and I don't remember all of them. But basically it goes like this. It goes, Rabbit and a possum going up a hill. Rabbit knew the possum had a $40 bill. Rabbit said, Possum, let's play 7-Up. Rabbit grabbed the money, but he's scared to pick it up. Rabbit hit the possum, possum fell. Rabbit grabbed the money and said, fare ye well, fare ye well, fare ye well. So it's a lot. You can find it though if you type in Rabbit and Possum, and I will also link hopefully to where I found it on the internet. But the game version that I use is, so like it says, it talks about the rabbit and the possum finding a $40 bill and fighting over it. So basically what you do is the class will sit in a circle and you'll have 2 students seated back to back in chairs that are in the center of the circle. A third student will hide the $40 bill somewhere in the classroom while the rabbit and the possum both have their eyes closed as the class sings. And as the class is singing, the rabbit and the possum are looking around for the $40 bill. I try to make it easy, like the $40 bill has to be sticking out partially somewhere or this game will go forever. And they keep singing it, and the two students are searching throughout the room for the $40 bill. And there's two ways you could do this. You could have, for whoever finds the $40 bill, the goal is to get back to the chair without being tagged, or tag the student that finds the $40 bill before they get back to their chair. And then the winning student gets to hide the $40 bill for the next round, and then two new students are chosen to sit in the chairs in the middle of the circle. And my students really like this one. It's a super fun one, but like I said, make sure they make it to where the money is easily findable, or you're going to be here for 5 million years. You really are. The next activity is definitely for kindergarten. I use it for first as well. They really do love it. I use it year round, honestly, and it is just the Bunnies game. I first heard of this from Eileen Miracle, and then I also found a video of a Doll Crow's classroom using it and adding a lot more movements to it. But it's basically having your students compare opposites, or hear opposites, like high and low sounds on the piano. And you just make up a story about bunnies. So it could be like, one morning the bunnies woke up and they wiggled their noses, and you play up high on the piano. And they wiggled their tails down below. And then when it was time to brush their teeth, they brushed their top teeth, and you play a higher sound. And they brushed their bottom teeth. And then they love to hop around, and you just play some music on the piano. And you just tell a whole entire story about bunnies, and you can just add whatever you want to it. I will link to the video down below so that you can get more ideas. But this one is such a hit. It's super easy. It requires almost no prep at all. And your students have so much fun hopping and bouncing all around the room to bunnies during the springtime. Then we have a book lesson that I love using. I love using the There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed Some Snow, Who Swallowed a Leaf, Who Swallowed, for all the year round. The one that I use for spring is There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Chick. And you know that one's like, there was an old lady that swallowed a chick. I don't know why she swallowed a chick. Perhaps she'll get sick, or whatever it is. And so I actually created a product to use with this. But basically, it's a cumulative song. So she adds more stuff like she swallowed the jelly beans to get to the chick. She swallowed the chick to get to the whatever it is. And so after we've read the entire book and we've sang it along, I will go back through and I'll say, okay, well, what did she eat first? And then what did she eat after that? And what did she eat after that? And we add all the parts. And then we add instruments to the different parts. And so each student is in charge of a different instrument. You could make this like a fun discussion where it's like, oh, what sound do you think would represent a chick the best? Or represent jelly beans? Or represent straw? Or whatever it is that she eats. Typically for that, if you're going to do it that way, I have 10 instruments on the floor that they can choose from. I don't just let them choose from any instrument in a room because also I've learned that'll take 5 million years. So limit the amount that they're allowed to pick from. And then divide the students into groups and you do the book again. And whenever their instrument part comes up or their word comes up, they play their instrument once or twice. Super simple, super easy to follow. I love it so very much. And like I said, I do have a product with all of the slides and all of that already ready for you. Also with pre-selected instruments if that's the route that you want to go. So I will link to that under this video. This next activity, I don't know if it really should be a spring activity, but I always think of it during the spring, so I'm just going to put it here. I don't know. I love a good scarf routine, and so it's to the Syncopated clock, and I can't remember who wrote that. But there is a video that I use specifically online to follow this dance, and so I will put it down below. But basically, the students just do different stuff according to the different parts of the song. So at one point, they're just bobbing their scarf up and down. When the A section repeats, they bob side to side. Then there's a more lyrical part of it where they're just swaying with their scarves side to side. They even bring them in a circle. And then there's a part that's like an alarm clock. And so typically they throw up their scarf on the ding and then they catch it. And the ding and then they catch it. And they swirl it over their head until the next set of dings. And so those are the main parts. And then at the very end they toss the scarf over their head. And it lands on them in the end. But like I said, I will link that video of the routine that I use down below. But I love this one. I love using it this time of year. It's very, very fun. And I have a lot of fun with it for sure. Then this next activity, it depends on what you're going to use it for. I've used it in 2nd grade to introduce call and response, and I've used it in 4th and 5th grade to start my recorder unit because I bought this recorder unit forever ago on Teachers Pay Teachers that was called Ease Into Recorder, and it teaches you to start teaching your students with low E instead of B, A, and G. which I agree with, because you start them on E, it teaches them not to overblow from the get-go and to use nice warm air, because if they're able to produce that lower sound, then the higher sounds are easier and they don't blow too much, making the lower sounds harder. And so I've used it for both. But basically, the song is just a call and response song. It goes a little something like this. Oh, John the rabbit, oh yes. Oh, John the rabbit, oh yes. Got a mighty nice habit, oh yes. Of going in my garden, oh yes. And cutting down my cabbage, oh yes. And eating all my peas, oh yes. He ate tomatoes, oh yes. And sweet potatoes, oh yes. And if I live, oh yes, to see next fall, oh yes, I won't have, oh yes, a garden at all, oh no! And that's how the song ends. So it's very, very simple. But if you're going to use it for a recorder, then all the oh yes are on E, so they're really practicing. And it's the same thing for the Orff instruments, whatever note you use. I think I normally sing in an F for them if I'm not using recorders, so that it's oh yes. But anyway, you could use the barred instruments or the recorders and teach call and response, and that your kids, the call and response, typically the response is always the same. It might vary slightly, but it's normally the same. And so that's a great one to use in springtime, to use either with your littler students on the barred instruments and have them just playing a simple oh yes, Bordeaux on whatever note you choose, or using the recorder if you want to introduce it that way for lower E. I will link to that recorder unit that I was talking about, so that you have that in case that's the route you want to go. Then we have a fun folk song that I use in kindergarten just to get them singing, and then I use in second grade. I reinforce it again to review half note or introduce half note and get them exposure with it. That is Bluebird. And if you don't know that song, there's a bunch of different variations, but the one I use is Bluebird, bluebird through my window, bluebird, bluebird through my window, bluebird, bluebird through my window. Ooh, Johnny, are you tired? Take a friend and tap them on the shoulder. Find a friend and tap them on the shoulder. Find a friend and tap them on the shoulder. Ooh, Johnny, are you tired? And that's the one I use. And so I've typically, how that game works, and there's a couple different game variations of this too. The one that I use is the kids are all in a circle and they're all holding hands. And then one kid is the bluebird and they're in the middle of the circle. And the kids' hands are up like this to represent windows. And on Bluebird, bluebird through my window, the kid's just weaving in and out of the circle wherever they want. And then when it says find a friend and tap them on the shoulder, there's two variations of this game. You could just do they tap someone on the shoulder, they move to the next person, they tap someone on the shoulder, they tap someone on the shoulder. The last person they tap on, oh, Johnny, are you tired? Like the last tap them on the shoulder, that person is the next bluebird. Or the version that I use, which I think is fun and it's not too crazy, is every time they tap someone on the shoulder, that person has to grab their hand and follow them. And so eventually you have this very, very long bluebird. And the kids think that is just the most hilarious thing ever. I don't know. They just do. But that one is a super fun one that you can use in the springtime with bluebirds, and you can use half note. It can just be for a fun song for repertoire purposes, but I really do enjoy that one as well. And then a fun folk dance that I learned that I cannot find my notes for on how I did this folk dance. But regardless, this song is about a frog, and frogs are perfect for the springtime, and it's so cute and it's so fun. It's Froggy Went A-Courtin / King Kong Kitchie. So if you've never heard that song, it is so fun. It's a song tale, which I always do song tales by playing the whole song and singing it on ukulele for my students. So this is a great one. This is a great one that you could learn the whole song and play it on ukulele for your students and tell them a story. But this is the first verse, just so you know how the song goes. But it is a little quick. It goes, frog went a-courtin' and he did ride. King Kong, Kitchie, Kitchie, Kai-me-o. Sword and a pistol by his side. King Kong, Kitchie, Kitchie, Kai-me-o. Kai-mo-kee-mo, Kai-mo-kee. Way down yonder in a hollow tree. An owl and a bat and a bumblebee. King Kong, Kitchie, Kitchie, Kai-me-o. And there's this really pretty musical version of this that you could use for a folk dance that I will link to underneath here. I love that song and my kids really like that song, and like I said, I've used it as a song tale in my classroom before around springtime. If I can find the folk dance video, I will literally add it down below, but I've not been able to find it, and I know I have it in my notes somewhere. So by the time this video comes out, it'll either be there or it won't. But it's still a really great song that you can use in your classroom. Fun for repertoire, fun for singing, all about frogs. good times. And that is all of the lessons and ideas that I have for you for springtime in the music room. Trust me, I have a million more, but I want to make another video at some point, so I don't want to give away all the goods right now. But I hope that there are some that you haven't heard of before or that you forgot about that you can add back into your music rotation again. Like I said, I have a really great time in the spring with all of my kids. It's a lot of fun. I love all of these lessons so very much, and so I hope you get as much out of them as I do with my students. And with that, maybe drop in the comments below your favorite spring music lesson. I would love to know if there's one on here that I need to know about, because you guys help educate me as well. And with that, I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye!